we can restore dignity to the experience of Home Affairs. I think that for me is really the fundamental point. Home Affairs is what makes us all South African.
Yeah.
We get our ID documents there. It's the first government department we interact with when our parents go to collect our birth certificates. And it is also the last one that touches our lives if our loved ones have to go and collect a certificate when we pass away. So it's fundamentally about dignity and our identity.
It's interesting because it's almost hard not to make the juxtaposition between what you're putting forward as your priority to get work visas and skills into the country when your predecessor, for instance, just now on the 18th of June, lost in an appeal in court there. This is in the ZEP matter, right? So I'm keen to hear your view on what we do about ZEPs. At the moment, those permits are up until, 2025? Would you want to extend them? It's been quite a hot potato issue in the run-up to these elections.
Look, I think we have to approach all of these things on the basis of what our Constitution tells us. And you'll see in the Statement of Intent for the Government of National Unity as well, that this is a government, even though it's made up of multiple parties, that will ground itself in what the Constitution and the rule of law says. Now, the courts have spoken on the particular way in which this matter has been handled. I will obviously need some time to go and review the processes and what some of the missteps were in this regard. But I think the fundamental point to make is that we must uphold the law. On the one hand, that means that obviously where there is fraudulent activity or where people have engaged in corruption to obtain certificates or have corrupted that system that you mentioned, that is something that there will need to be consequences for. And we must uphold the law in that space. But just as much on the other side, we also have to look at the way in which people who try to get legal paperwork are being failed by processes within the department. And that is something where some of the major problems and court cases actually emanate from, because you cannot punish a person when the department itself has failed to facilitate what may have started as a legal application.
Just allow me to step in.
That's the balance that we're going to get right.
Yeah, allow me to step in, because I think this is an important topic and almost a different one to what you're talking about, which is, and certainly one that's key, right? The processing of paperwork and documentation. But the ZEP essentially is that permit that was given to Zimbabweans in the mid to late noughties, right? To say you are able to come and live in South Africa and live a full life almost as a citizen in South Africa because of the toil that took place in Zim. So the previous minister saying that needs to come to an end. Would you agree with that briefly, if you will?
Well, I just don't think it's that clear cut. There has to be a process for persons who have tried to legalize themselves, people who have tried to apply for other visas, for example, where they have managed to contribute skills to the economy, to actually obtain the paperwork where they have complied with the law. But then on the other side, of course, that's why I started by saying, where there are persons who do not meet the criteria, that is where we will have to review that system.